Hi there, welcome to this tutorial. Today we're tackling the question, how do I start a podcast with no audience? Stay tuned because I am going to give you a practical, easy to follow, step-by-step, hands-on guide to help you kickstart your podcast even if you currently have no audience. And just very quickly, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get alerted about new videos. And if you're new to my channel, give the video a like because that really does motivate me to make more content for you. Thank you very much. Let's jump right in. Okay, let's start with the good news. You definitely don't need a pre-existing audience to start a podcast. I suggest you make sure to plan, identify your target audience and develop a strong podcast brand and identity. Building a podcast audience requires dedication to promotion and social media marketing. Recording high quality audio and video is non-negotiable when you're starting a podcast. Riverside makes recording and editing high quality podcasts easy, even if you're an absolute beginner. Now, I understand why you might be reluctant to start a podcast from scratch, but the beauty of starting a podcast is that anyone and everyone can get involved. From the outside looking in, it can seem like an intimidating or exclusive space. But the truth is that with tools like Riverside, even beginners can start producing high quality podcasts with little to no experience. Don't let the fact that you don't have an existing audience faze you. I will now give you a step-by-step guide to starting a podcast from scratch. Here we go. Step number 1. Spend time planning and conceptualizing. Since you're building from the ground up, you need to spend a good amount of time planning and conceptualizing. Rather than jumping straight in, it's worth properly planning out your podcast. This will include what it will look like, what you'll be talking about, and who will actually feature. At this point, I recommend that you should pin down your tone of voice and who you will be speaking to. Let's now move on to step number 2, identify your target audience. This leads to really thinking about your target audience. If you want to start building and growing an audience from scratch, it's best to focus your attention on a specific profile or demographic. Pinpointing your ideal listener will help you to direct your content creation to appeal to certain interests. Additionally, this will help you to target your outreach and promotion by tapping into an existing community. The first thing I recommend you do is get a rough idea of the field that you'd like to focus your podcast on. The more specific, the better. Now, after you've done this, head to Twitter or other social networks and start looking for existing communities. You should also look at other podcasts already existing within your chosen niche. This will give you a good idea of the kinds of people that you're targeting. I would also recommend creating a target audience persona where you define information such as your ideal listeners' demographics, their habits, and their pain points. It's even better to create this based on your existing data. Perhaps you've interviewed some people who you think might be interested in your podcast, or even just by examining your competitors. Here is step number 3, decide on a niche. Similarly, deciding on a niche will make it easier to market your show and generate organic momentum. Entering a niche podcast topic rather than a saturated and popular genre will make it easier for you to leverage existing online communities. Landing on a niche should be fairly easy, but it's not as simple as choosing something you love. While you should go for something you're genuinely passionate about, I would suggest that you consider your target audience and where there are gaps in your field. Find a niche that provides your audience value while standing out from what already exists. You could take a new angle on a popular topic, or you could focus on a topic that doesn't get enough coverage. If you're starting a podcast to complement your business or your brand, then your niche will be related to your services. Just make sure there's enough interest within your niche. Let's move on to step number 4, invest in branding. Producing high quality content is one thing, but you must ensure your podcast is easily identifiable and stands out from the crowd. Branding covers everything from your podcast's tone of voice to marketing and the visual identity. It gives your audience a sense of who you are, what topic podcast covers, and what they should feel about your show. You'll use branding for your cover art, your logo, and your podcast description, your websites, and social media assets. It's important for launching a podcast with no existing audience because good branding will ensure your show stands out from the crowd while also attracting compatible listeners. If you're unsure where to begin, I suggest trying doing some brand exercises to refine what kind of impression you want to give to your listeners. Think about the main message you'd like to get across. I would recommend investing in your branding. enlisting the support of a professional designer will make sure your cover art and social assets pop out and pique the interest of potential listeners. Crafting a distinct brand for your podcast is essential in today's saturated podcast landscape. With over 2.5 million shows on Apple Podcasts and increasing competition from major players like Spotify, establishing a strong podcast brand identity becomes paramount. Much like investing in creating memorable logos and catchy jingles, your podcast brand assets are extensions of your brand's values and the essence. These elements not only communicate your podcast's strengths, but also make it more memorable and more engaging. They become shorthand for your brand, facilitating recognition and resonance among your audience across various platforms, from social media to merchandise. A robust brand identity opens doors for brand extensions such as merchandise, exclusive content deals, or in-person or online events, which not only deepen audience engagement, but can also generate supplementary revenue streams. These extensions create opportunities for listeners to show their loyalty to your podcast, fostering a stronger sense of community and connection. Here are some ways you can help build your podcast brand. Let's start with the name. With over 5 million podcasts out there, a unique and catchy name is essential to make your show stand out in the crowd. Your branded podcast name not only captures the essence of your show, but also sparks some curiosity and leaves a lasting impression on potential listeners. Here are some tips in mind when it comes to naming your show. The first thing is to reflect on your podcast's purpose. Your podcast name should clearly communicate what the show is about. It should reflect your content's core theme and the value proposition. I would suggest you consider what your brand represents, the message that you want to convey, and the emotions that you wish to evoke in your listeners. Next tip for you is to conduct keyword research. Explore relevant keywords that are associated with your product's niche. Understand common search terms used by your target audience. Then you can integrate these keywords seamlessly into the name to enhance discoverability across podcast directories and search engines. Another tip is to check for trademark and domain availability. You can use resources like the United States Patent and Trademark Office, the USPTO website, to search for existing trademarks. Additionally, search podcast platforms to confirm your podcast name isn't already taken. My next tip is to consider your target audience. Understanding your target audience is crucial in creating a podcast name that resonates with them. Put yourself in their shoes and think about what would catch their attention and make them want to listen. Another tip is to keep it short and memorable. Short and catchy names are more likely to stick in the minds of listeners. I would avoid long, complicated titles that are difficult to remember or pronounce. I suggest saying the podcast name out loud several times to see how it sounds. Let's move on to step number 5. Invite high-profile guests. If you don't have any social clout, the next best thing to do is piggyback on someone else's. You can invite popular or well-known guests onto your show and leverage their community. You don't need to have celebrity guests, but well-known and respected people within your niche will work well for your podcast. Let's move on to step number 6. Record and edit high-quality content. Producing high-quality content is essential when you're starting out without an audience. You don't want to put off new listeners with lackluster audio or patchy video. Recording a high-quality podcast isn't as hard as it sounds. I suggest you use a tool like Riverside to ensure your videos and audio does you justice. You should also record wherever possible using an external mic, camera and headphones. Try to create a quiet recording environment so you're not contending with too much background noise. Don't overlook the importance of post-production either. You need to spend time stitching together your recordings to achieve a seamless and professional podcast. I suggest to use Riverside's text-based editor for a smooth and easy-to-use workflow with all the tools that you could need. Here are some more top tips to help you produce a high-quality content for your podcast. Number 1. Use the right equipment. You can record a podcast with your laptop's microphone, but I don't recommend it. You'll need a few pieces of podcast equipment to record professional and clear audio. This is the easiest of my recording tips and it has the biggest impact on your audio quality. Number 2, don't forget to warm up. To state the obvious, recording a podcast episodes requires a bit of talking. Rather than going into your sessions cold, warm up your mouth and vocal cords by practicing your script or saying a few tongue twisters. Properly warming up will improve the dictation and keep you from stumbling over your words. There's nothing better than delivering your points flawlessly the first time round. Number 3, record in a small quiet room. Record episodes in the smallest and quietest room possible to reduce outside noise and echoes. Shut your windows and doors, turn off any machines or devices that make a constant noise, and put your pets somewhere they won't disturb you for a couple of hours. I suggest to fill your recording environment with soft items such as couches, pillows and carpet that absorb sound to muffle any errant noises. Let's move on to step number 7, consistent output and publish widely. You need to commit to recording and publishing your podcast on a regular basis. If you want to build out a loyal and dedicated podcast audience, then publishing episodes randomly and intermittently will not work very well. A consistent podcast publication requires forward planning and a substantial investment of time to record and edit everything in time. Since you're trying to maximize your exposure, you need to ensure you publish your podcast everywhere and anywhere. You want to reach potential audience members wherever they might be listening, so don't be precious about which platforms you're distributing to. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment below the video and don't forget to tell me which strategy or method from this video you are going to use first. Or if you have any questions, drop them below and I will follow up with you. If you would like to learn more about how you can create a second income online, I have got something special for you. Click the link below to join our exclusive webinar on creating a second income online. This isn't just a video, it's your ticket to a life-changing opportunity. Don't miss out. Make sure you check out that link and go through to my website and I will see you at the webinar. I hope you found this video useful. Please share it with your friends, like it and tell people about it. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button and please like the video. Just click the subscribe button below this video. If you have any questions, leave a comment under the video below and I will follow up with you. Thank you for watching.